Hey guys, this is Devin here with Hillbilly Networks again. Today I wanted to do a video on the RCDD. The RCDD is a Registered Communication to Distribution Designer. That is basically a telecommunications engineer. They design outside, inside plant drawings for installation of fiber optics or copper. And that includes basically everything with that. That literally, when I say everything, I mean everything. It covers power distribution, it covers bonding and grounding, it covers the HVAC systems, it covers the space in the rooms, the type of wood you should use on the walls, the spacing from the floor, the NEC codes that are associated with installing boxes in the wall, like not electrical boxes because it's not for an electrician, but telecommunications outlets. And it covers all that stuff. And once you get certified, I guess you could call yourself a telecommunications engineer if you wanted to. I'm not going to because it doesn't say that. That is the only thing I feel is very disappointing on that. Because if you look up telecommunications engineer jobs, it pops up RCDD. I don't know why they couldn't just call it that. That would feel a whole lot cooler. Be like, I'm an engineer, telecommunications certified. Yeah. But nope. So anyways, I'm an RCDD instead. An acronym that most people don't even know what it means. But I'm going to tell you today what it means. All jokes aside, that is actually a certification that offers a salary of anywhere from 90 to 120,000 from a lot of the jobs I've looked up. The federal government / U.S. military actually requires you to have that. Well, somebody on your staff to have that, to be able to bid a contract for designing telecommunications for them. And anybody installing the telecommunications for them would then also require the installer certs from BICSI for, say, the fiber optics or copper. But basically, if you're the RCDD, you're the guy that is possibly designing and signing off on the blueprints, or maybe somebody else will design it, a team of people will, and you'll come over and you'll review them and make sure everything is up to code and everything looks good. And then you stamp off on that blueprint. I actually, the class I took through BICSI, just to give you an idea of what type of people you're working with. Again, I'm not an engineer, I'm actually a network analyst. But when I was in that class, I had an engineer from Saudi Arabia that flew all the way over here to take that class. We had the information security director of Wyndham Hotels. We had two Marines that are contractors for the U.S. military, if I understood correctly, and they're retired Marines. Whatever they do, they're very important guys, and it sounded pretty awesome. But a little secretive, maybe. But they were in that class, and had an engineer from Panduit, if you're familiar with that company. Those are the people in my class. I was a little bit intimidated, to be honest with you. I was like, well, crap, I'm a network analyst. Nice to meet you. You're all engineers. So, anyways, that class was very informative. I actually enjoyed it. Everybody was very kind and nice. I learned a lot from those people. A lot of them, their focus was on copper. I work with a strictly fiber optic network for my job that spans across a good portion of the state. I live in Kentucky, and that class is several $1,000s. You'll have to get on their website to see. But after you take the class, that alone is unfortunately not enough to pass the test unless you're just an absolute genius. I'm not, so I didn't get that lucky. Most people I've heard have to read the book 2 to 3 times, but I wanted to make this video because I wanted to be able to tell y'all that may not be true for you. It may depend on the test they give you because there's a different variety of tests, but I went and took it right after I took the class, did not pass. I've read about people doing that. So then I listened to what the teacher said, and I read the whole book, 2,200 pages, volume 1, volume 2, It's a manual, telecommunications distribution manual. And after reading that whole book, I went and took it. Pass. No issues whatsoever. It felt pretty awesome to get it. I love having that title at the bottom of my email. But anyways, though, I wanted to put that out there for anybody who's not familiar with that and is interested in engineering telecommunication systems. That's the cert to go for if that's something you want to do. Obviously, go get your bachelor's if that's what you want to do. Go get your bachelor's in telecommunications. There's many college campuses that offer that. That is not the same thing as a BS in IT or a BS in computer science. It's actually a different degree. It's a lot more on technical would be the wrong word because it's all technical, but you get more into, say, like you might take a class on strictly cellular networks. That's pretty interesting to me. I think that's awesome that they have classes on college campuses that actually cover that stuff, because a lot of times it doesn't seem like those degrees cover that kind of stuff, but telecommunication systems management does. And you actually learn a crap load of information off of it. Unfortunately, I don't have that. I have a BS in IT. So, but anyways, I would urge you to get that and get that certification. But before you do any of that, talk to those telecommunications companies and ask them, what do you look for in an applicant? Because they may have some program that they pay for you to go to school and will give you that job as an intern. That's why a lot of things, there's a lot of places that are hiring for interns nowadays. That seems to be the way it works from what I see online in many cases. But this is one of those things, you're not going to go get a certification and jump out there and be telling everybody what to do kind of thing. They're obviously going to want somebody with some experience. So that's one of those, when you're an engineer or you do any type of engineering, you don't just walk in and start drawing up plans for everybody. Because you're talking about, when you draw up a plan, depending on the size of the installation, you could make millions of dollars worth of mistakes if you did not have the experience. So they're going to usually start you out at the bottom, but the pay usually still starts off pretty high if you're depending on the company you're working for. But again, Google RCDD and you're going to find there's several jobs for 90 to 120,000. One time I saw they were hiring a lot of them in Colorado Springs at a United States military installation there. I'm sure y'all can guess which one. I thought that was pretty interesting. If I didn't have roots in Kentucky, I would have totally gone and done that, because I'm a big Stargate fan and would love to work in Cheyenne Mountain. Yeah, that'd be cool. Anyways, if you got any questions or anything, leave any comments, let me know. And if you have any more questions about the RCDD, how to get it, I'd be happy to respond and help you out in any way I can. That's one thing. I get a lot of free certifications through my company, and I'm very blessed with that. And I'm also thankful I have a job that I want to stay there. So in many cases, I get these certifications and they look good. I learn stuff from it. It benefits my company, but I'm not looking to move or leave or go somewhere off of them. But if you are looking to do that, a certification like that is a very good one to have to get into that type of work. But again, do research, talk to those companies, because if you may find that a larger company, I'm not going to mention any of their names because I don't want to get sued for mentioning their names in a video, but any of those large telecommunications companies probably have their own training programs for that kind of stuff on the inside, and they may not even know what your certification is because they have their own classes in schools internally to do that. I know of one specifically that is that way, and I've talked to an engineer from that company. He had no idea what I was talking about because again, all his was training through that company. So depending on which one you're wanting to work for, you might want to give them a call and see if they even would recognize that. Hopefully down the road, it'll become more popular. It is very popular in large cities and very popular throughout the U.S. government. But But again, you're in a rural area, most people aren't going to know what it is. I did talk to maybe 2 people in my area that did know what it is, and that kind of made me feel good in a way that I have it once I talked to them. I was like, oh, that's neat. It's actually a massive fiber optic company that installs fiber optics. They splice, run, cabling, uh, contractor. And the owners of that company that operates all over the United States both have that certification. Obviously, because they want to be able to sign off bid contracts with the U.S. military slash federal government. That would probably be why they have those. And any big cities, because if they're doing something in a big city, the inspectors there are going to require that someone on staff be able to sign off on that. But one thing I wanted to say about that class, one more thing is, one of the people in that class had one in the past and he let it lapse. And he actually said he was on retainer with the company at one point and they were paying him $500 a month. Now, this is like 20 years ago. So when I say 500, probably a lot more now. He was just getting paid $500 a month to do nothing at all other than be on retainer to be able to, whenever they drew up plans for something, to be able to walk on site, look them over, and say, hey, this is good, stamp it. And then they would pay him, I think, maybe $1,500 just to stamp it. So something like that, depending on where you live, that could actually bring a lot of money in your pocket on the side. But you do have to be willing to leave 24/7 to go do that if you're on retainer with somebody like that. Because that's one of the things I talked about with that company. I said the owners have. And the guy that I was talking to is a project manager, and he told me, hey, yeah, you can do that, but you'd have to be willing to drive somewhere like, to me, somewhere close like Nashville or something like that. You'd have to be willing to drive all the way over there at a moment's notice and sign off on something. And then you're going to be worried. You were put in a rush. You've got a lot of stress on you because you were put in a rush because they got everything together and they're waiting on you to sign off. And you're looking at it at the last minute, probably, to make sure there's no issues and make sure they don't get in trouble with the inspector. Yeah, and good and bad there, I guess, but it's money. So, anyways, like I said, just comment, message me, let me know if you have any questions about that or any other videos I've done on certifications. I try to do one on each certification I get to talk about how I got it and what the route I did to pass it. Because in today's world, certifications are, in many cases, more important or as important as having a degree. There's a lot of people in IT that do not have degrees. I will say I have a bachelor's in IT, and the reason I got it is because I knew it would get me jobs that other people couldn't get because they did not have a bachelor's in IT. Because certain jobs in IT actually say requires a bachelor's in IT, and a lot of people in IT do not have a bachelor's in IT. So we'll say you get that, that actually increases the likelihood of you getting an IT job by a lot. But that doesn't mean you're going to get paid a whole lot more either, because you've got other guys that are going to have a 2-year degree or nothing that are going to be getting paid just as much as you because they got lucky and got a job because they knew somebody and they've worked their way up in maybe 5 years or less and are making the same as you with your bachelor's. But that bachelor's for the IT job almost guarantees you a job